All right, this is going to be a quick video going over the L-head configuration and talking a little bit about some of the advantages and disadvantages of this configuration. Okay, so here we have a cutout of an L-head motor, and I'm just going to draw your attention to one thing in particular here. The reason that this is called an L-head motor is if you take a look at the combustion chamber up here at the top of the piston in the head, and if you were to trace this back to the valves, to the ports, and if you were to look at this upside down in this configuration, it would kind of look like an L or a corner, if you will. So this is the L-head configuration. All right, so a couple of things about the L-head configuration. One, your valves are off to the side of the motor. They are not, or excuse me, off to the side of the cylinder. They are not above it. So this is to the side. Okay. So if we take a look at how this operates. Okay. So right now on this stroke, we're exhausting. That's the exhaust valve. The muffler's falling off of it, obviously. What's happened here is this is going to push up and expel all of the spent fuel air mixture out of the exhaust port here. And then on the second stroke, we are, see, it's kind of hard to see inside of there, but pulling in the fresh air. And this is basically the valve configuration. So when you hear L-head and overhead, we're referring to the valves. So if we look at this, this is pretty straightforward here. We've got our crankshaft that's in contact with our camshaft. That our camshaft has the two cam lobes on it that look like kind of like a teardrop shape. And as this camshaft spins around, depending upon where that lobe is, it is pushing up on the tappet, and then in return that tappet pushes directly up on the valve, and then as it rotates past, the spring pushes the valve back down. So when we're looking at this and we start looking at the configuration and the components of it, we have our head up here that has very little going on with it in terms of design. It's just has a dome shape here for our combustion chamber. There is a hole in it for our spark plug, and then obviously the holes for the bolts. So it's a very, very simple head assembly. Okay, so that can be easily modified because it is so simple. And say we wanted to create a bigger combustion chamber, we could do that very easily without having to modify a whole bunch of other parts. Okay, well, we start looking at the block or the casting of this configuration, and we look at how our valves are seated in here, and this is going to be more of a complex casting process. So if we were to modify something on the actual block itself, this could be a little bit more challenging, and it could be more time, resources involved, so it could be more expensive. Also, the initial production of this block is going to be a little bit more because of the intricate details due to the valve housing. Okay, so once again, we have pretty simple head, more complex casting of the block, and this is the L-head. All right. All right, another thing we want to take a look at here on the L-head is, as I was explaining this, I was explaining how the cam moves the tappet, and then the tappet comes in direct contact and moves the valve. This is not requiring a whole lot of moving parts here, so that's also an advantage. And when we have less moving parts, we typically would say that we have less of a chance of parts to wear out. So this could be an advantage for this motor, as well as it does have less moving mechanisms to control the valves as well.